There's an Easter egg mission within the first Call of Duty raid, Atomgrad, and nobody had found this until some people in my community stumbled across it yesterday. This raid had been out for weeks and nobody even knew this was there. In the video, I'll show you exactly how to do this. You are going to need a team of 3 to manage to do it, and I'll show you what you get for it. Just as a warning, kind of heads up, the reward isn't great. You're probably not going to want it. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out my streams over at twitch.tv/geekypastimes. So when Atomgrad launched on the first night, I found one piece of intel on my original run through it, and it came up saying there's 1 piece out of 20. So we knew there were 20 pieces of intel. But weirdly, even now, weeks later, there still aren't any guides on how to find all of the intel. And that's because, as far as I know, nobody's found all of it yet. 3 people from my Discord, Wolfman Alpha, Gokutavo, and Brug, all started working together to try and find every last piece of intel. They'd done it on a Spec Ops mission, so they wanted to try and get it done on the raid. And they managed to find some really crazy things within this raid, including the mission I was talking about at the beginning of this video. So, while we don't have every piece of intel, I don't want to do a guide for every piece, but you can see on screen here all of the different locations that we've found intel in so far. Most of them you can just find by kind of stumbling across them. They're very small objects, the icon doesn't appear until you're really, really close to them, so they're very, very hard to find. And at the moment, we're at 19 out of 20 pieces of intel, so there's one somewhere that we don't know where it is. We've got some theories about that last missing piece, like you can find a Geiger counter right at the beginning of the mission if you just go across the water and then go to the left a little bit, and that helps you to find a couple of pieces of intel, and in that final kind of silo surrounding corridor where you have to defend for the last objective, the Geiger counter does start going off and it looks like it's pointing somewhere just inside the silo. Some people in my Discord have decided that means we're going to be able to get inside the silo at some point, so maybe when the next raid opens, this one will have a couple of extra rooms or something like that. Or there's this grate underwater that I found last night, where you can kind of duck under the water and go into this quite big room under there, and there's some weird doors on the walls of it, but there's no intel in there at the moment and you can't open any of the doors. I'm wondering if we go back there on Veteran, maybe that some of those doors will be open, or maybe there'll be a piece of intel there. So if there's anyone who's got a team ready to do Veteran now, try hopping in there and let me know in the comments if you find that last 20th piece of intel down there in that underwater section. Anyway, let's get on with the really tricky bits of intel to find, and the thing that leads to this kind of weird Easter egg mission. So the first little hidden mission that just rewards you with a piece of intel, you have to complete the entire first section completely in stealth. So that means you have to get from spawn all the way up to that first puzzle where you're reading out the codes for each other, without being seen by any enemies at all, and then you have to get round to the submarine room, so you have to get out of that code puzzle room, back into the water, and then over to the submarine room, again without being seen. Then this piece of intel will be sitting here on the box. If you do get seen, if you don't manage to do it in stealth, then that piece of intel won't be there when the doors open. This is actually pretty hard and took us quite a long time. You have to make sure you synchronize all of your shots to take out groups of 3 where everyone shoots one at once, and you have to kind of make sure when you get to the end part that one person serves as a spotter to let you know when the coast is clear, then all of you move as one into that code room, and then you have to do the same thing when you're leaving the code room. You have to have someone kind of keeping an eye out, just peering through the doorway to see when the enemies have moved away, and then you can jump back in the water and get out. For whatever reason, that last set of enemies, if you kill them, more enemies just spawn, so it doesn't seem like you can completely clear out that last section. But that's probably not what you're here for. The really interesting one is this Easter egg mission, where you have to go and try and collect 7 dog tags within about 2 minutes all across the map. It requires 3 different people to go in 3 different directions. It's quite challenging, and it does require a little bit of setup before you can get started. So when you go into the raid normally and you just get through to that first code room, the first room where you start doing the puzzle, and you open up the little shutter to get through to the second part of that, you'll see on the desk there's a little note there, and this is half of the mortuary notes, and it seems to be sort of torn in half. You can kind of read half of it, but it's just sitting there and there's nothing you can do to interact with it. The first part of this mission is to find the other half of those notes. So, to find the other half of those mortuary notes, you need to go through the swimming section just as you would normally, all the way through to the first safe area. So you go through all the flooded tunnels, there's actually another piece of intel in there, and then open up the gate where one person has to hold the button, the other 2 go through, they hold the button, and then you go through, up to that stairwell where you can get a little bit of oxygen. Now, if you go to the very top of there and you're looking the kind of back left corner on the floor, you'll be able to see the other part of the mortuary notes. So you can pick these up, and now your entire team needs to go back to the beginning. You need to go back to that code room. So you can just swim back the way you came. Thankfully, the gate, you can just hold it open and then everyone can get through. It kind of sticks a bit when you're coming back the other way. But you can swim all the way back through to that code room, and then you can put the mortuary notes together and complete that. Now, on the mortuary notes, if you interact with it, it will go from 0 out of 3 to 1 out of 3. You need all 3 players on your team to interact with these notes at basically the same time. It seems to be a little bit glitchy, it's a little bit wonky. Everyone has to react with it super quickly, and annoyingly, someone will be carrying the air tank now, and the air tank, if you're near them, the interact button will grab that off them instead. So this is a little bit annoying, but you can do it, so just try to make sure you interact with the notes, then back off so the other 2 people can do that. Once all 3 people interact with the notes, then a timer will start and you'll see 7 objectives spawn around the area. The timer should be about 2 minutes, and basically each person's going to have to go a different route in order to collect all of the objectives before it runs out. So the first person who interacted with the notes needs to run over and open the shutter straight away. That'll let the other 2 out, and then while it sticks open, you can get out as well. Now this person's going to have to get all of the tunnel objectives, and I would say this is probably the trickiest one. So you need to run out and immediately go up the stairs on the left. I'd hop over that little pool of water and then run along the walkway at the top, and at the end of this walkway there's a little room. You go in on the left and you can see on top of these shelves there's the first objective. Then go back down and back out to the walkway you were just on, and now there's one hovering over the water. The only way we found to get this one was to sprint at it, dive, so do a dolphin dive, and then immediately pull your parachute. Now you need to keep running down a tunnel and cross back over and climb up this ladder. Once you're at the top of the ladder, you'll see the next objective just on your left. You have to do the same thing. You can like jump and dive and pull your parachute. You can actually get this one without necessarily having to dive, but it makes it a lot easier. And as soon as you grab it, just go back up the ladder you just came up, and then you'll get back onto that walkway. Run along this little bit of walkway and you'll see that there's another one on the right at the end. You need to jump off and dive to grab that one in the air again, just like you did for the second one, and then you should end up on the other side of the water, and that's good. You want to stay there. Run along that walkway all the way to the end, and the final objective is going to be under the water. So you just need to dive into the water and grab that objective, and then you're done, and you just have to hope your teammates have done the other ones correctly. So the other 2 players are going to have to go through the water with the air tank. So obviously make sure one of them has the air tank. Now it helps if you've done a little bit of prep here, just gone through past that first save point and opened up all the doors and got rid of all the trip mines. You can get rid of them by throwing Semtexes in, or you can get rid of them just by having full armor on an assault character who has 3 plates of armor and just tank the hits basically. So the way we were doing this is that one person is essentially going to die and sacrifice themselves, because it doesn't matter if you die after you do it. So one person is going to go in and just go through the entire maze as normal. Don't worry about the first safe area, you don't have time to stop there. So just go through that barrier, go straight down where the safe area would be to get to the second area, and then head straight down that corridor that should be clear, so you don't need to go through the office or anything like that. Then make sure the other player has the air tank, and you're going to grab this dog tank, which should be fairly easy for you to get to, and you're going to branch off to go kind of right to get to the last one that's through these offices. So you have to swim through quite a lot of offices, and by the time you get that dog tag, you're probably going to die. You might be able to get back to the elevator, the second safe point, but it doesn't really matter if you don't. If you die, you'll just respawn back at the sub, which is where you're going to have to head back to anyway, so it really doesn't matter if you die, don't worry about it. Now the last player has to go through the water with their teammates. You have to open that barrier together, but when they go off through the right to go to all of the offices, you're instead going to go through that green glowing hole. Again, hopefully you've cleared out the trip mines first, and then you're going to basically carry on with the maze. You need the air tank for this because you're going to be going a lot further, and basically you have to get to the next safe area, which is this kind of little tunnel, and then just sprint down the tunnel. The last objective is just at the end of that tunnel. This is one of the trickiest ones to get in terms of time because you're only just going to make it before the timer runs out. But if you hit that one, then that should be the 7th objective completed. Now all of them are done and the mission is complete, and you can go back to that code room to get your reward. So where the mortuary notes were before, now there's a folder and it's a piece of intel. And that's it. So all you get for doing this massive Easter egg is a piece of intel, which kind of sucks. And I can already see the people in the comments saying, I'm not going to do this because the rewards are rubbish. And yet the reward is rubbish, but it is kind of a lot of fun doing this. So if you've got a team of 3, I'd heartily recommend you give it a go. If anyone finds that last 20th piece of intel, like I said, I'm pretty sure you're going to have to be on veteran mode to do it, but maybe we're wrong, maybe we just missed it somewhere else. But let me know in the comments where it is, and I'll make a guide for all 20 pieces of intel. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.